and welcome to Win Over Depression. I am your host, Tamara Trotter. This podcast is dedicated to those who suffer with a mental illness but try every single day to feel better. It's also dedicated to those who have loved ones who suffer in silence and want everyone to know about this debilitating condition. You know, depression is one of the most undertreated conditions in the entire world. Depression is undertreated because there is such a stigma associated with mental illness that when people are suffering with depression, anxiety, or any other type of mental health condition, oftentimes people are not supportive, and so the person just hides their feelings inside. Today on Win Over Depression, we are talking about managing the cards we have been dealt in life. The public is so judgmental, and therefore people want to hide behind a mask because they are embarrassed to share their deepest, darkest secret. But you know what? It shouldn't be a secret, because anyone who suffers with a mental illness is fighting for their life every single day. But it's up to us to decide what will be our response. Will we decide that we're going to ignore it and think it's just going to go away, which isn't likely? Or are we going to meet the challenge head on and figure out a plan, something tangible, an action step that we will take in order to overcome whatever comes our way? But when you have decided that you are going to move your life to the next level and you are going to level up, there are things that are going to happen to you that are going to cause you to want to quit. And that is a sure sign that your breakthrough is right around the next corner. But people stop short of succeeding because they give up because it gets hard. But guess what? Life is hard. Challenges are hard. Living with depression is hard. But sometimes the cards that we have been dealt, it's what we've been dealt, and we have to figure out how to best manage those cards. Is it fair? Absolutely not. But we're either going to sink or swim. We're either going to try to hit the basket or we're not even going to shoot. It's totally up to us. But for me, I'm going to do some type of action because I want to be able to impact the world in a special way. And I don't want my feelings and the cards that I've been dealt to get in the way. And I'll be honest, for years, I let the cards that I've been dealt in terms of my diagnosis with depression, I let it get the best of me. And for years and years, I did. I suffered in silence and I did not fight for myself. But that's over. And so I want you to decide that you're going to fight and that you're no longer going to let your depression get the best of you. Because when we do that, we are depriving the world of something that we have to offer because we are not able to offer whatever it is because we're not up to it. And when we're not up to it, we cannot reach our fullest and truest potential. So we have to get our mind in that place where we can dig deep into the depths of our soul and pull out what it is that we were meant to do on this earth. What is our purpose? Yes, because when we know what our purpose is, then we know what our gifts are, what we have been gifted with. And each and every one of us has been gifted with a purpose, something that we are meant to do, to contribute to society, to make a difference, to touch someone's heart, to help them overcome their circumstances. And when we don't live up to our truest potential, then we miss out on the ability to help someone else. Do you know that there are people who are waiting for your breakthrough so that you can be a testimony as to how you made it through? And that's what I'm doing. I am giving and sharing my testimony about how I suffered with chronic depression. I could barely get out of the bed. I was only going to work, but I decided that my life was worth much more than that. Depression is due in large part to a chemical imbalance in the brain. And if you have someone in your family who suffers with a mental illness, then you are more than likely to be diagnosed with that condition. So depression is not your fault, and it's up to you to decide whether you're going to take the diagnosis and allow it to rule your life or become proactive in order to live your best life. Because we only get one life to live, and then it's all said and done. So we might as well make it count. So when we think about dealing with and accepting the cards that we have been dealt, that means that we are only giving a little bit of energy to knowing and understanding the problem, but we're going to spend the majority of our time solving the problem. And so the problem is when we suffer with depression, we don't feel like getting out of bed. We feel as though the world is closing in on us. Oftentimes, I describe it as if you are sinking in quicksand, and no matter how hard someone tries to pull you out, they are not successful. But that means we have to try something else, but we can never give up. There are going to be days when you want to give up, but when you want to give up, there are 5 things that you can do in order to get that thought out of your mind. And the first thing is it's your mindset. Because when we think we can't do something, then more than likely we cannot do it. But if we decide that we're going to get at least 15 minutes of sunlight every single day, or we are going to turn on all the lights in our home because that's going to produce energy. We're going to make sure that we take a shower every day. And we're also going to listen to some upbeat music and remind ourselves that we are valuable and that there is no one who has the exact same DNA that we have, and that we are a winner. And no matter what, our life is worth living. We are valuable, and there's purpose. Sometimes we have to decide that some of the cards that we may have been dealt is maybe having an unsupportive spouse, a husband, a wife. And sometimes we have to decide if them being unsupportive is impacting our mental health so much that we may have to part ways. And that can be a very difficult decision. But that's the type of thing that I'm talking about when I say that we have to be proactive. Because if there are people in our lives who are bringing us down and they're not building us up, then our mental health is being adversely affected automatically. So we just have to remember that. But I know that life can be difficult. Life is challenging. But what do you think about how can you go back to a time in your life when things were better? People were getting along, the world economy was better, and just things seemed upbeat. I can remember that. So what can you do in your own personal time and space to get back to that? In your own little world, what could you do? Sometimes when we just celebrate the small wins, and even if it's just a simple gesture, someone being kind, someone who is just going to buy us a cup of coffee, or someone who is going to pay it forward and say, hey, I'm going to pick up your meal today. all of that makes life more worth living. So whatever we can do to spread some sunshine, to help people to see their value, because it's not always about us. Part of accepting the cards that we have been dealt is also recognizing when other people may need our help. Because, for me, whenever I can help someone, lend them a helping hand, or do something for them, it actually makes me feel good, which is going to improve my overall mood, which means that I am managing my mental health. So when you feel like you just have no energy to help anyone else, if you can just muster up a little bit of energy to help that other person, I guarantee when you're laying in your bed that night and you're thinking about your day, a smile is going to come across your face when you think about what you did to put a smile on another person's face. To me, that is priceless and it is immeasurable. So I want you to remember that no matter what setback you may experience in your life, that usually a setback is a setup for a comeback. So don't always think that a setback means that whatever it is that you're wanting for yourself is going to be denied. Because if something in your life is delayed, it does not mean that it is denied. Let's just say, for instance, that you applied for a new position at your job, and perhaps it was a promotion, and you did not get the promotion. Sometimes when we feel like something is denied, it feels personal, but you may actually be avoiding a toxic situation. It may not have been good for you, because more money does not mean better lifestyle. Because if it's going to be a toxic relationship, that is going to cost you more in the end. So you may be awaiting a better position with a better supervisor or manager who is not going to be toxic. So we just have to be patient and wait our turn. And I know it's hard to wait our turn because sometimes you just feel like, man, this just isn't fair. And I get it, but life sometimes just isn't fair, and that's just the truth. So today we were talking about how to accept the cards that we have been dealt. And when we do, our outcomes can be improved. So the question is, and your homework is, are you accepting the cards that you have been dealt in life? And let me just explain. When I say accept the cards that you have been dealt in life, I'm in no way saying that you should accept something that's negative. I'm saying that when something happens that is outside of your control, that it's better for you to be proactive than to expect it to go away. So your homework is, what is it that you are maybe not accepting because you don't want to come up with the game plan? So, in other words, what do you need to come up with the game plan for? And I want you to write it down and think it through and come up with at least 3 action steps. 3 action steps that you are willing to take in the next 5 to 7 days. So I encourage you to write it down and get it done. I never want to end my podcast without thanking you so very much for listening. You are the best part of Win Over Depression, my valuable listeners. I appreciate all of the support that you have given us over the past 4 years. If you want to subscribe to this podcast, please go to Spotify, Google Play, or Apple Music. In addition to that, you can find Win Over Depression on LinkedIn, Twitter, Tumblr, and you can also go to Facebook and join our Win Over Depression community, where you will find other people who are experiencing similar circumstances and situations, and you can go there and learn from what they're going through. So remember, giving up is never an option. And don't forget that we are now on TikTok. So make sure that you go and follow us on TikTok, and it is under Win Over Depression. If you would like to help this podcast continue to grow, please consider becoming a patron. You can go to patreon.com. That's www.patreon.com/Tamara Trotter. That's TAMERA, last name Trotter, TROTTER, and as little as $7 to $10 per month will help us to continue to bring this podcast each and every week. Thank you again, and we will see you next Friday on Win Over Depression. Take care.